If there's one thing I would have learned over the 2.5 years I'm constantly doing YouTube is never trust a pony. Yes, never trust a pony. The reason why I say that is because there has been so many times where I would have caught these ponies contradicting themselves, lying to themselves, and I must highlight it. Could you remember when the podcast said that guess what? Microsoft output for the first half of the year was poor? You all remember that? Let me remind you.
I'm telling you right now, it needs more than that. What's happening the other, like BG said, what's happening the other 11 months? What are you getting the next 11 months out of that? Here we are. It's going to be what? April next week. April. What have you gotten brand new from first party from Microsoft? They've bought half of the publishers out there. What have you gotten now?
Yes, the host of the X-Fire podcast, Mooch, was basically saying that Xbox had no games for the first half of the year. Where are all the games? This is what he was saying. But now the same exact thing is happening to Sony. And listen to this guy change his tune.
You, P-Rock, as we go into the last 3.5 years of this generation, think that the Sony, because we all have short-term memory, and you remember this, P-Rock, from last generation, right? The Sony that everyone talks about with PS4 was hot. That was the second half. This is the second half. And Sony literally even said in their quarter four reports that they expect their IP and software to really blow up over the next year and then leading forward.
Now, all of a sudden, he's telling PlayStation fans that, you need to wait to the second half. You need to wait to the second half of the year or the second half of the generation, and then you'll get good first-party games. This is so much hypocrisy. Now, that lying and that hypocrisy could follow right through to the peripheral that Sony would have come out with about 2 or 3 years ago. That is the PlayStation VR 2. Now, the PlayStation VR 2 was a colossal failure despite these ponies making up stuff saying that this game or this peripheral is selling better than the first iteration. It is very clear that the PlayStation VR flopped. That's not just my words, that's even the words of the past PlayStation president.
Sorry, I was wrong. PSVR 2 didn't become PS2, so yeah, you can.
What happened with PSVR 2? What happened with PSVR 2, Shu?
I guess we'll never know. This is number one champion sound.
Well, let's move on. The conversations.
Shout the season, man. Shout the season, man.
I mean, to say that the PlayStation VR 2 failed would be an understatement. Although the PlayStation community is trying to convince themselves that this thing still has life in it. Sony will trickle in releases of games that have no heavy hitters for this peripheral. That is why it died. Now, bear in mind that the PlayStation VR 2 cannot run games on its own. You need a PlayStation 5 in order to access the ability to view these games in virtual reality. And let's face it, most of these ponies have a pink eye, a fat eye, and cross eye, so they can't even play the PlayStation VR 2 as yet. That is why, again, the sales is so low. The PlayStation VR 2 is such a flop, they don't even want it in their bargain bin.
The PlayStation VR 2 that PlayStation made themselves. This thing is $600 when it came. I told you it's gonna be $1,200. Y'all had to add the PlayStation 5 to this. Remember this?
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
This thing, I tried to sell it to GameStop. You know what they told me? Take this back.
That is true. They're not taking it no more. They're not taking it no more. That is true.
I said, what can y'all give me? Nothing. Get your thing and get out the store.
But we are seeing that a competitor has entered the market. Well, not really entered the market, just a rebranding of a competitor. Yes, Microsoft has teamed up with Meta for their VR headset. So yes, this is the Xbox Quest 3S. As you can see, it's very similar to the Quest, but what makes it special, it has that Xbox branding, black with the green accents, and it really does look cool. Now, most outlets are saying that this is going to be $399. Now, what is a plus about this compared to the PlayStation VR 2 is that you don't need a console to play this particular VR. This is a standalone VR, which makes the price point and makes the platform a better platform than the PlayStation VR 2. So Microsoft has thrown their hat into the ring to give persons or give gamers a better solution when it comes to VR. So if VR is your thing, note that this is the best VR out there. Now, when it comes to me, I am not someone who fancies VR. I like to know what's going on around me when I'm playing my games. However, I know that this is something that a lot of Xbox fans wanted. So are you going to pick up the Xbox Meta Quest 3S? Let me know in the comment sections below. But it seems like this is much better than that PlayStation VR 2. Today, however, we are going to talk about how the PlayStation community is suffering from brain rot. For some reason, they think that they have a win with Hellblade 2 in hands. We'll also talk about the dilemma the PlayStation community have found themselves in with Stranding 2. So sit back, relax, and let's get it!
This is a sickness!
Let's get it! So guys, as most of you all know, we are on the road to 5,000 subscribers. Your subscription to this channel would aid in that goal. Of course, you're not doing it for free because you're getting some of the best Xbox content, and of course, we specialize in the Sony Pony Salt. This is what I have my degree in. This is what I have practiced for years. It has been passed down from my grandmom how to slay ponies. So this is my specialty. So if this type of content interests you, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button today. Now let's get back to the video. First up, let's talk about Hellblade 2. We know that Hellblade 2 is now going to be ported to the PlayStation platform. And here we have the PlayStation community making a victory lap that this game is coming to the PlayStation platform. They are so misinformed that it's not even funny. Hellblade, the franchise, was already existing on PlayStation prior, so there is a fan base there. Now, these guys were so, salty when Hellblade came out exclusive to the Xbox. Look at J-Dub here. Before Hellblade 2 came to PlayStation, J-Dub tweeted, Hellblade 2 has you literally walking around for an hour lighting torches. The game is only 4 hours, yikes. So here we have J-Dub basically saying Hellblade is crap, basically saying here what, this game is a budget game, this took all these years to make this a 4-hour game. He's basically saying the game is rubbish because it's not coming to the PlayStation 5. Now when this game was announced to the PlayStation 5, look at this pony now. Hellblade 2 can be pre-ordered on PlayStation 5 and is also pro-enhanced. Thanks, Phil. So now all of a sudden, he is endorsing Hellblade 2, telling his audience to go hear what it could be pre-ordered, and he's even thanking Phil Spencer. So this is why you can't take these ponies serious, guys. These guys are just capping. They always love Xbox games. This is just the facts. I've been proving this to you guys day in and day out. But there is more concerning Hellblade 2. For some strange reasons, the ponies think that they have a win. Why? Because Ninja Theory came out and said performance mode will only be available on Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro. So, in other words, they are saying that yes, we won because the Xbox Series S cannot play Hellblade 2 when it comes to 60 FPS. Now, look at some of these memes these brain dead ponies are using. Barry is saying, oh wow, no 60 FPS for Series S? Damn, I feel bad for anyone who bought a Series S. You shouldn't have, but still, damn. And we have James, the resident horse here wearing clown. He's saying, this is me watching the Xbox fanboy explain 60 FPS on the Series S. So yes, the PlayStation community is somehow thinking that this is a win for them. Now, I mean, I don't need to read and spell for these ponies. I mean, let me see if I can break it down so that they could understand. If I was to purchase, say, a Ferrari, then I was to purchase, say, a used Honda Accord, a 1999 used Honda Accord. One car I spent over $500,000 US for it, and the other I spent just about $3,000 for it. Should I expect the same performance from a used Honda Accord compared to Ferrari? I mean, the both of them I can reach to my destination. However, it's only one that could reach from a 0 to 100 real quick. It's only one that could maybe pass 400 to 500 miles per hour. And yet the other one might be very reliable. So to summarize, ponies, you spend more money, you get more features. You spend less money, you get less features. And by the way, ponies, water is wet, in case you didn't know. This is a sickness, man. This is a sickness. So, ponies, so all you guys who think that this is a win, remember that the Series S has a feature that the PlayStation 5 versions will never have. And that is Game Pass. Free on Game Pass. Next up, PlayStation fanboys. Yes, the ponies have a dilemma. You see, when Death Stranding 1 came to the Xbox, these guys were trying to convince themselves that, you know, this is not a PlayStation game. This game is a Kojima game. He's the one who published it, you know. Although when it is you boot up the game, you are seeing a big PlayStation studio signs. Forget about that. This is not a PlayStation game. PlayStation is not making games for Xbox. Yes. So now this is what is happening. They cannot decide what to call Death Stranding 2. They are confused as to how they can cap for this game. You see, if they say it's a PlayStation game, there's a possibility that this game could be coming to Xbox. If they say it is, okay, it's not a PlayStation game, then guess what? They cannot claim this as a victory for PlayStation. It's just a time exclusive. Yes, so they are in a dilemma. Who would have summarized this dilemma for us? Well, listen to how MBG is battling, trying to convince his audience that this game is a PlayStation game. No, wait, it's a Kojima game. No, wait, it's a PlayStation game.
Like, quite literally, some of the best games that are going to release the entire generation. That's more meaningful than getting 3 or 4 or 5 games that, you know, maybe some of them are good, maybe some of them are okay.
So this is MBG damage control for his audience, trying to convince them that producing just 2 games a year is the best thing that Sony should do. You see, there's nothing he can say about this. So here we have 2 games alone that is coming exclusively from a PlayStation studio. And this is what the PlayStation community is talking about. Sony is not producing as many games as they used to. First party games, that is, as they used to.
At least to me. I'm not claiming that for everybody out there. That's up to you to decide. But this is why, man, when I encounter so many of these naysayers where they try so hard to make it seem like PlayStation is doing something wrong, and I'm like, no, you don't get it. Games like Death Stranding, games like Ghost of Yotei, like, they will be top tier quality. They will probably be Game of the Year contenders. They're going to sell millions and millions of copies, probably at full price.
They're going to sell at full price because, quite frankly, you guys didn't have any first party games for the entire year. So it must sell because you guys are starving right now.
And they're going to break even and hopefully become profitable. So as Jim Ryan once put it, that virtuous cycle can continue. This is what I support, man. And that's not true though. You're saying this isn't Sony. It is. It like they literally put the PlayStation Studios logo.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Be careful, MBG, because if Death Stranding 2 is a PlayStation game, then PlayStation publish games for the Xbox. That means PlayStation is a third-party, publisher. So be very careful, MBG. These ponies are listening, and if it is you say that PlayStation is third-party, they just might have your neck. Be careful.
Listen, saying Death Stranding 2 isn't Sony is about the same as saying that, it's like saying... It would be like the equivalent of saying,
On MBG, don't freeze up now. Let something come out of your mouth. Don't freeze up.
What's... I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. Starfield. It'd be like saying Starfield isn't Microsoft. I don't know why it took me so long to remember. I was like, what's the name of the game, bro? And it's like, dude, it's in Microsoft's case, you say it's, yeah, Starfield is Microsoft because they literally own them. They literally bought them and own them, and then they slapped the Xbox logo on it.
If that is the criteria for understanding whether Death Stranding is a first-party game or a second-party game, you would have just defeated your argument. You are saying that, guess what? Starfield is owned by Microsoft. Microsoft bought Bethesda, bought ZeniMax, so obviously Starfield belongs to them. Now, it's very clear that Death Stranding or Kojima Studio is not owned by Sony. So if it's not owned by Sony, is it a first-party game, MBG? Is it a first-party game? The answer is clearly no. But you see, you guys are trying to take this win because you guys had nothing for the entire year to say it was a first-party game. And now, this game comes out to rave reviews, and you guys are trying your best to claim it as your own. This game is coming to Xbox as well, and when it does, I want to see the crying.
Sony is out here straight up funding the game, publishing the game, offering XDev support for the game, giving this man their own engine to use. And people want to still say it's not Sony. It's not Sony. Listen.
We didn't learn. We didn't learn from last time. We didn't. So, we didn't learn. Comprehension.
Now, MBG, didn't Sony do that similar thing with Death Stranding 1? They initially published the game, they initially gave Kojima the engine to run the game, and yet it appears on an Xbox platform. So, isn't this the same argument? So, are you saying that PlayStation is a third-party publisher now, MBG? So, this is what the ponies was trying to run from. This is the dilemma.
Dude, the reality of the situation is that if one day Death Stranding 2 launches on Xbox and you see, just like we saw with Death Stranding 1, and you see people on that platform, you know the people I'm talking about how great it is suddenly, yeah, that's a Sony funded and published game, bro.
So yes, MBG, we know it comes from a PlayStation studio. That is why Sony is third party. Now, we know that when this does come to Xbox, we will have no shortage of games. We won't be hungry for games. Xbox gamers are eating well. The question is, how will you guys take it when we continue to see that PlayStation logo coming onto our screen? So let me hear what you thought about everything that was said today. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.